Iowa Deer Classic, March 7th through the 9th, Iowa Event Center, Des Moines. Now, 3 levels of hunting and shooting gear, land management, outfitters, and more. Big buck and shed contests, seminars, celebrities, archery shoots, family shows. Get tickets, win prizes at iowadeerclassic.com.
Attention all campers.
Keith Murphy.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
Andy Fales.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway.
Powered by AD.
Just a bit outside.
Murph and Andy. Proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere from the Channel Seed Studios. Murph and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
I needed that Friday Murph and Andy Open here live on Iowa Everywhere. It's good to be with you. Andy is in West Des Moines, Andrew Downs in Urbandale, and I am in San Diego here at the hospital. Sports and more for at least the next hour. And a program warning, I feel like it's probably a good idea just to say this up front. Scott Sipker will be on the show today.
Yeah, kind of a not so much a parental advisory, but just just a general advisory,
just really. A people advisory
to everybody.
Right.
Yeah, he will be here, but we've got some good stuff to talk with him today. Got a really interesting game of Who's the Asshole.
Really?
Coming up. Yeah, our friend Blake Hornstein, who works over in the Quad Cities, has been sitting on this one for a while. He's been kind of holding out on us, and he's a fan of the show, and we finally coaxed it out of him. He's got this really good story. He's involved in it. There's also another noteworthy name that I think will ring a lot of bells when we bring it up on the other side of the Who's the Asshole situation. So that's one that you're going to want to stay tuned for.
Now, is it possible that Blake, is Blake one of the possible a-holes in this story, Blake Hornstein of Hawkeye headquarters?
Yes, he is indeed. Yeah, he's wow. He is an asshole alternate. It's one of two, and Blake is one of them, and he's offering himself up. This is he's putting himself out there with this one. But Scott Sipker will be with us when we are. He's good, in judgment situations like that. So he'll be with us when we are doing the Who's the Asshole here, coming up toward the end of the show.
Andy, I don't want to make this about me or my feelings that much, but it's been a tough, long week here, and I think it would raise my spirits and help me feel better if I could leave when Scott comes on.
Andrew, what do we say here?
Yeah, I think we can do that. I think we can handle it. Yeah.
Could you do me this kindness?
Do you the kindness.
So that tease I just gave had no effect on you, Murph.
No. I'll listen, I guess, or watch. But
sounds great, Andy. I don't want to be here for that.
Yeah.
He'll be okay.
All right, good to hear that.
Yep.
Update on our good friend Bryce Miller, because it has become the Ferris Bueller movement here with Save Bryce. Just spent the morning with Bryce in his room, and I read him the messages on my Facebook page. Yeah. Bryce's brothers, Brian and Bruce, and his mom, B, they have heard, like I have, from so many people that just wanted to share a story of a memory with Bryce, or many of the people who worked with Bryce or fished with Bryce or vacationed with Bryce or went to Dexfield High School with Bryce. He's touched so many people. There's a big L. Yeah, there's Bryce with my dad at Cooney's, Bryce's favorite bar in the world. There just so many people wanted to share those stories, so they have, including I saw and read the message from Andrew Downs and his wife Judy, and they're just, some of them are funny to read. And I sat by Bryce's bedside today, and I read all of those stories, and at times showed him the photos that accompanied the stories. And his speaking is very limited at this point, but his eyes would light up, or he would do that. You know that Bryce smirk, this smirk here? do that. And
right when he was mulling a comeback to the great story that you just told, or the great, you just made some really interesting observation, and he's just going to shit on it.
Oh yeah, just coming at you.
His own comments.
And Ken Pink, who is here and such a dear friend. He has shared so many fishing stories.
I just found a great picture of Bryce here. I'm going to send it to Andrew right now. I can't believe I haven't sent this one yet, but this is absolutely one of my 3 favorite pictures that I've ever had of Bryce. This is going to make you laugh really hard. Bryce is like we were saying. I like the analogy that I settled on. He's the mini bike of friends. Like you see Bryce and you're like, oh man, I'm about to have some fun, right? You don't use Bryce. He is not a commuter friend. He is not a he is not a he's not the friend that you lean on to get help with your TurboTax. He's your buddy that you plug in to a situation where you know you're going to have fun. He just makes it better, and he is he just is like the ultimate sidekick to have on any trip, and which is ironic because he may be the sidekick to start the trip, but that doesn't last long because Bryce always has an idea of what he wants to do, and he's very quickly, somehow or another, you don't know how it happened, but he's got you in the sidecar, and he's the main guy. Here's Bryce. This is a long day of fishing that we had put in on some Iowa farm ponds, and we'd been slaying these giant crappies all day, and he just crawled inside of a bottle and went to sleep outside the coming tap.
What a life Bryce has lived, because as you read through the messages on Facebook, and as the family and I were sharing them and laughing, and at times also shedding some tears. I mean, Bryce said yes. You want to go? Yes. You want to go to this? Yes.
Yep.
You want to try this? Yes. You want to fish? Yes. You want to go on this trip to Ireland? Yes. Do you want to go to my son's graduation trip? Yes.
Yeah. You ever say no? Was there ever anything he said like no?
You want to meet us in Las Vegas? Yes.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as we would go through the stories today, there were stories about working with Bryce. And how he could be challenging because he wanted to bring out the best in you. There were register stories going all the way back to his Iowa City days stories. There were those stories. There were family stories. There were high school stories, like somebody talked about. Hey, Bryce, remember when we glued all the chairs to the floor in study hall? There were some stories like that.
There was one of those stories?
Yes. Yeah, there were a few stories there that you had to check that. Let me check the statute of limitations on that story. Okay, I think everybody's okay. There those stories, and then the bar crawl stories, the vacation stories, the fishing stories, the family stories, just all over the place. And it just as a reminder of just say yes to your friends, say yes to your family, say yes to life experiences over all else, because Bryce did that. And I had a chance today to, I just had a chance to tell Bryce, hey, Bryce, I love you. And he said, I love you back. And it was a reminder to me to,
give the flowers while they're alive. Yeah. Well, Murph, you have been a phenomenal friend to Bryce, and he's been one to ours, and he has been a part of this radio show, Andrew, I think certainly for all 15 years that we had the radio show. And, he sat in the studio with us many, many times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hated playing Guess Whose Birthday so much that we made him do it every time he came on.
The worst Guess Whose Birthday player.
So bad.
Ever.
For a guy who knows so much, so bad at Guess Whose Birthday.
We would spring that on him.
He sucked so badly at Guess Whose Birthday. And some of those memories on Facebook, like at one point, his brother Brian said, how bad was he at Guess Whose Birthday?
It got to the point where if you missed by like a decade, we just called it a Bryce Miller miss.
All right. Well, he's felt a big hug from the Iowa Everywhere and Murph and Andy community. And thank you to all the people who have reached out, because it has meant so much, most importantly, to his family. And one other shout out I want to give here, Andy, because Bryce's girlfriend of many years, she's no longer his girlfriend, but Alicia Anderson, who we knew, she flew out here as soon as the emergency surgery happened, and she has slept in the room every night. And they're not still together anymore, but the love remains as real as it gets. And she's been like an angel this week, and I really appreciate her, and it's really touched me, so it's cool.
Well, and Bryce, for a guy who's been single his whole life, doesn't have any kids, he could not have more family.
That's right.
Jeez, he just has a world of family. And Bryce's phone is full of the most random and amazing contacts.
It is.
How long has he's been in San Diego all that long, but the list of people that he's become friends with in San Diego.
He's buddies with Bruce Bochy. He always texts me whenever he and Bochy are
Bill
together.
Walton was his text message buddy, was
right.
his good friend. Walton.
Bruce Bochy has been checking in every day.
Dick Enberg, is that one of them too?
I went to breakfast with Dick Enberg and Bryce.
Just at this totally random guest we had on the radio show. Who was the name of that kicker for the Chargers? The Chargers former kicker. He's friends with Bryce, and so Bryce just handed him the phone. The guy who was friends with John Matuszak and telling all the old AFL stories.
Was that Rolf Benirschke, the original host of Wheel of Fortune?
No, not Rolf Benirschke. It was a Hispanic dude.
Oh,
it was like a Eddie Arcaro or a Frenchie Fuqua type kind of guy, but it was like, who was that? Was like so damn random.
I do
Bryce just handed him the phone or something, here's this dude's number. You might want to talk to him. He's got a million stories. The guy was married to a Playboy centerfold, even though he was like 5'6". But Bryce had made friends with him.
He had more than one strong leg. So the nurse at the hospital has said that she, in all the years she's worked at this huge San Diego hospital, she said she has never seen a stream of visitors like have been here this week. It's incredible. But let's get to the Guest House Tavern and Oyster in West Des Moines, setting the table for sports and more, including Fran finale, ? Women rule, and as Andy teased, who's the a-hole? That's all coming up. Guest House Tavern, Northwoods-inspired Midwestern hospitality. Right now, high or low since the last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
Charter Retirement Planning and Tax. Tim Hawkins and company are aces at all things retirement planning. Of course, busy right now with tax season, but also adapting to all the changes the new administration has brought to taxes. And there have been new changes to your Roth IRA contribution limits, all kind of stuff that have made retirement planning a little bit more complicated, but he can make it easy for you. WealthCharterRetirement.com. I'll go high here. My mom is in town. I picked her up yesterday at the airport, and she's here. Eddie has his Willy Wonka show tonight at elementary school, so she came in town to do that, and we have spent the last hour doing computer stuff together. Wow. Me and my 80-year-old mom. I think everybody has an older parent probably knows what that's like. And I'll have to say though that I did a What's Bugging Andy on this. I do understand where older Americans are coming from. Some of this stuff has just gotten so needlessly complicated, and there are, all the pop-ups that jump onto a screen when somebody's trying to book an airline ticket or something like that. Even if we were on delta.com, it was just a constant stream of pop-ups that kept coming up, and that confuses even younger people getting confused by that kind of stuff, but it really does get difficult. So we've been doing some of that kind of stuff, but also she's been loving on her grandkids, and it's just really good to have my mom here and taking her around. I wish the Iowa weather was a little bit more cooperative today, but hey, what do you expect? You come here the first week of March, this is what you're going to get.
That is awesome that your mom is there. And it's so true about also the fishing that comes in. Like Bryce's mom is here, and I could hear Bryce's brother Brian a couple of times like, no, Mom, that's nothing you need to pay attention to. It's like, your account is about to be closed, answer immediately, that kind of stuff. And it's just like, gosh, that's not the kind of fishing Bryce likes. That's a different kind of fishing. I think it's spelled
fishing.
PH. Yeah, geez, it's just
it's terrible.
It is terrible. And Bryce's mom, B, is where I'm going to go here with a high, and a little bit of an unconventional one. But first of all, this is a Thanksgiving photo for those of you who can see. That's Bryce's mom.
Finger?
Yes, it is. Yep. That's the middle finger.
Household
so nice photo of Bryce and I here, Thanksgiving, time of love. And there's B in the background, just flying the middle finger. She's 86 and she's as sharp as a tack. And my high is that Ken Pink and I were with B yesterday after some tough news, and we had a big cry because B was going through all the messages for Bryce. She was going through the Facebook thing, and B said, you get the impression these days that the world is so mean and everybody is so cruel. And I forgot how nice most people are. And we just had this nice talk about how we all fall into this, where on social media or watching the news, you just start to think that everybody hates each other and that everybody is so mean to each other. But then you're reminded, even when it's at a time where you wish this wasn't the catalyst for a reminder, that there's so much good in the world and there's so many people who are so nice. And she was just sitting there, and it was making her cry, all the kindness of all the people that have come through her son's life in different ways. And that was my high, seeing that. And the photo here of me and B, Bryce's mom, and I'm holding a photo of B. This is at Bryce's favorite bar. We went by there the other night, late at night, for a beer. And this photo of B with the sash and the crown on, when she came to visit Bryce a couple of years ago, they had B Winter's Day at this neighborhood bar, and she rode around in a convertible, and she had the crown on her head, and they put a sash on her, and they presented her and Bryce with a bottle of Blanton's, which Scott Sipker would then make bourbon and cokes out of.
Yeah, who took that off her hands?
We didn't let Scott near that bourbon. And now to this day, in this bar, the only people with photos up on the wall are Will Ferrell, who's friends of the guy there. Will Ferrell's on the wall of the bar, and then this picture of B Winters from B Winter's Day a couple of years ago at the bar. So that was really cool. But that's my high today. Interact with others on YouTube. Email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. On X, it's Murph_Andy. And it's all powered by the Cellular Advantage, as I'm being powered by the Cellular Advantage here today. 35 regional locations and proud partner with U.S. Cellular since 1993. Let's get the buzz.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
Logier Heating and Cooling Solutions to Des Moines area families. Well, the buzz is from last night's game, Iowa men's basketball building a double-digit lead against number 8 Michigan State, and we watched this in the hospital room. Bryce is an alum of the University of Iowa, and on the biggest screen I've ever seen in a hospital room, and the Spartans are in trouble. I think here as this photo is taken, it's 29-21. Iowa builds a double-digit lead. Michigan State is ranked number 8, but then I think everybody, including everyone in our group, was like, I wonder when the Spartans' run will begin and how many points Iowa will end up losing this game by. And the run started right after Margaret McCaffrey came down to the court and said something to Fran. From that point on, the Spartans pulled away. I would think that's a coincidence, but I saw that several times mentioned that from that point on, Michigan State dominated, went on to win by 7.
Yeah, that was an easy point to pick on at that point. And yeah, I feel like, I don't know, we're just past it at this point, right? I mean, the pessimism starts before the game, and everybody's just kind of waiting for a point in the game to turn it back on again. This is unfortunate because, as we talked about the other day, I mean, we're talking about these players who have tried as hard as they could, and Peyton Sanford, who could have left last year and stayed. He has to play through this final Iowa game at Carver-Hawkeye Arena in this situation, and that's a pretty humiliating loss.
Well, it kind of ended up the way most people predicted it would, but after the game, Michigan State coach Tom Izzo warned Hawkeye fans to be careful what they wish for.
I look at some of the players he's had and what they've done, and you get lucky and unlucky. I mean, I just went through a 3-year period where everybody wants to ship me out. I mean, it's just the way it is. They don't have the resources here. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to say what Fran thinks. I mean, everybody has different amounts of resources. They're not on the middle or high end. And people, I love Fran. I think what he's gone through here with his own kids and everything, watch what you wish for. I've seen this happen at a couple of football programs close to us, and people better appreciate, it's easy to throw stones. Everybody says, well, we're paying guys money now, so you should be able to win. Well, don't you think the rest of us are paying money? No different. And Randy's one of my favorite guys because he does speak his own piece, and he's very smart. And I know this. He's sticking around if it's up to me because I need him. I need some of the guys that helped build this conference again, and he's one of them. And I think tonight proves it. I mean, we had everything to play for. They didn't have as much to play for. I'm supposed to be such a good coach. He kicked our butt for most of that time. So I'd say, what would I say to the people? I would say to the people that, like everything else in life, 10 or 15% of the people, Judd Heathcote said 10 or 15% of the people make enough noise to ruin a lot of things, and I don't think everybody feels that way, but I know what I think. I know what the coaching community thinks. That's all I can tell you. I watched it. I was 40 feet from it. He got a lot left in the tank. I promise you that.
A video courtesy of Hawk Central. There's a couple of flaws in what Tom Izzo is saying, and I appreciate his passion for his friend. I appreciate him standing up for Fran McCaffrey. Couple of flaws here as I see it, Andy. One of the flaws is he says Iowa doesn't have the resources. Well, the main reason Iowa doesn't have the resources right now is Fran McCaffrey. Does the women's basketball program have the resources? The women's basketball program has the resources because the fans are passionately behind the program. They're selling out the arena. They have the NIL they need to go get a Lucy Olsen or whatever player they need. The fans are fully engaged, and that's because the women's program is having success, and people liked the previous coach and they liked the current head coach, so the resources are there. The main obstacle to resources for Iowa Hawkeyes basketball right now is Fran McCaffrey. So that's one of the flaws in the argument. The other thing is Tom Izzo said this exact same thing when Iowa was getting ready to get rid of Todd Licklider. He had virtually the same speech.
It's funny you said that because Eric the Orange texted me first thing this morning and said I call bullshit on these Izzo press conference sound bites. He used to say the exact same thing about Bruce Weber and John Gross at Illinois. And, you know, this isn't something that's unique to Tom Izzo. We hear this all the time. It's awfully easy to be complimentary of someone who is no threat to you, especially in a competitive world like basketball. He may really honestly respect him, but this isn't the situation where I think you're going to get the most, the most honest comments from somebody like that. But
to be fair, McCaffrey has had success against Michigan State. I think he's maybe even won like 5 out of 7.
Yeah, Iowa has been no threat to Michigan State in the Big Ten.
Not in the big picture. Yeah,
in the big picture. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, recruiting, who's got the better program? I mean, it's Tom Izzo is on cruise control with that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, and you know, I mean, look, there is some validity to what he's saying, just in general. I mean, to be careful what you wish for, but yes. I don't think that applies in the situation of Fran McCaffrey.
I think that be careful what you wish for. Prime example from our region is Nebraska football. I mean, that's the one that most people will point to. Be careful what you wish for. AD, I'd like to hear from you on this, because not to oversimplify it, but I do think the main obstacle to the resources right now is the fans are not engaged, and the main reason they're not engaged in 15 years in is the head coach.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he hasn't made a great connection with the fan base, and there's a lot of different reasons for that, to the point where I think one of the biggest things, if they do make a move that Beth Goetz needs to weigh how is the next coach going to connect with the fan base and do so quickly, and not just for NIL resources and the swarm and things like that, but just to get people engaged again, because that's the killer here. That's the tip of the sword. That's what's going to get Fran McCaffrey fired, or however it plays out. It's not the on-court. And this season has not been good. Last season wasn't great, but he's built enough goodwill as a coach that I think you could weather this if the fan base was still engaged. The thing that's going to kill Fran McCaffrey at Iowa is that fans don't care anymore, and so that's such a huge piece to this. You do worry some about the resources in general, especially with the changing landscape. I think Chris Hassel put it really well yesterday on Two Guys, where if Beth Goetz doesn't make a move, if Iowa doesn't move on from Fran McCaffrey, that's a really glaring sign about what they think about the men's basketball program and kind of what the future of the men's basketball program is at Iowa. Do they care enough to pay a $4 million buyout to a coach to make him leave, to pay a buyout to another good coach to make him come, and to really put the resources into, changing Carver-Hawkeye Arena, doing some of the, upgrading the facilities? If I was going to be a player in the Big Ten and men's basketball moving forward, a lot of that needs to happen, and it needs to happen right now. And so this is a big moment, I think, for Beth Goetz, just to signal to the fan base, how important is this to you? It feels very important to us. And what she does over the next week or month or so is going to signal how important it is to the athletic department.
Right. And, this is going to be a big ask of any coach that you bring to Iowa, and no coach. I don't care if it's, Ben McCollum down in the Missouri Valley Conference, or if it's, someone who already has staked a claim to a really good reputation in Power 4 basketball. I mean, no one should take this job at Iowa without a commitment from Beth Goetz to a wholesale change at Iowa, to the arena, connection with the NIL there. That's been a mess. There needs to be a full plan written out. Otherwise, you're going into a situation where you're not just rebuilding a basketball team. I mean, you've got more, and that shouldn't be on you. I mean, some of this stuff should have already been done at Iowa. These improvements should have already been made at the very least, there should have been a plan. There should be already a plan in place. And you wonder what in the world is taking so long because, again, you just look at the in-state competition and what's happened there. In McCaffrey's time, look at what has happened. Look at what Brian Harden has done at Drake. Look at what Jamie Pollard has done at Iowa State. I mean, they have changed their arenas significantly in all of that time. They've gotten far better connections to, relatively speaking, to their fan bases. I mean, this kind of stuff needs to be, set up for whatever. This coach isn't going to be lucky to get this Iowa job. Mm-hmm. This coach is going to be saddled with a big job, one that spills off of the basketball court, out into the stands, outside the building, outside the state of Iowa. I mean, there needs to be a full-on plan, which is, another reason to believe that Beth gets, this is a really, really big decision on her right now. I mean, it's a huge responsibility for her.
And I think the women's program, it is important to note you can see what is possible in the same arena with the same facilities. The women's program, we can remember when Iowa State women's basketball was way up here, and Iowa women's basketball, despite success under Lisa Bluter and some great players, was just did not have the passion that the Iowa State women's program had. Now, all of this gets more complicated because Caitlin Clark is one of one, and she's the catalyst that changes most everything for Iowa women's basketball, where it is now in the conversation of most passionately followed programs in the country. But I think we're seeing signs here this season that it's going to continue more than some people thought it would, even with Caitlin Clark moving on. I mean, they're still selling out the arena. There's still passion, but how can you get that passion for the men's program? That's kind of the question. And that makes whoever's next, or whenever that happens, or whenever Beth makes that decision, and Fran McCaffrey is still the head coach, we should make that clear. But when and if she decides to move on, you're right. You've got to get it right.
Yeah, and look, that we all know this. I mean, the comparison to the Iowa women is unfair, and it really doesn't apply to many situations. If you get the best, the biggest recruit in men's basketball in the country, and he goes to Iowa and is immediately great and stays for 4 years and takes you to 2 title games, that arena is going to be packed. I don't care who the coach is.
Right.
For the men's basketball team. If Fran McCaffrey had that situation, he'd have had a packed arena all the time.
Yep.
Now,
no doubt.
You also throw in the fact that, women's basketball is just different. They stay longer. The other players stay longer as well. Everybody is more approachable. They're more active in the community. Caitlin Clark is an Iowan. Geez, there were so many built-in benefits.
Literal game changer.
Yeah. So, but now the problem is, though, that it also did go to show that there were a few excuses that fans of the men's basketball program were hanging their hat on for years that ended up being, moot points, right? What they didn't apply. All of a sudden, the emperor had no clothes. All of a sudden, it didn't matter that the weather sucked. It didn't matter the location of Carver-Hawkeye Arena, the shape of Carver-Hawkeye Arena.
Walking across the bridge.
The game times and, that kind of, it didn't, the opponents, none of that mattered. What mattered was the product that was on the floor. Now, the product is incomparable, but still, some of those other factors, we kind of knew it was bullshit for forever. But that really went to prove that was bullshit. So, it was fair, but mostly unfair. And I think everybody realizes that. But look, man, basketball programs go through this. This is part of the natural cycle. It's like the stock market going up and down. It can't go up unless it goes down. I mean, you have to, the economy can't go up unless it goes down. I mean, those kind of things are, as much as they suck, it's natural. I mean, Iowa is due. They are overdue for an overhaul of the men's basketball program. And it's not going to go up again until it goes down. And really, this down has been delayed for a while. I mean, this should have already happened by now. But, you know, they're going to change coaches. I am certain that they're going to change coaches this year. This is it for Fran McCaffrey. They're going to change coaches. They're going to bring somebody in. And then the Iowa fans that we know, because they're us, are going to throw themselves behind the new coach. Now, I mean, he's going to have something to prove, no doubt. Mm-hmm. But part of this is just things have stagnated over there, and the pond needs to be stirred up again.
I agree. I think that the coach is going to be changed. Let's get a quickie poll from WCI Pools and Spas in Ames and Urbandale.
Yes, my computer's not wanting to put it up, but
mine glitched on me too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Grade Fran McCaffrey's 15 years at Iowa: an A, a B, a C, or a D.
I
would have 4 options. So
yeah, we're not putting F out there. He certainly has not been an F, but I would grade his first 5 years a B, and his next 10 years a C. So overall, I would go with a C. I think he gets a B for coming out of the Licklider debacle and getting Iowa back to respectability. But there aren't regular season championship contenders in those 15 years. He had some NBA talent and couldn't get out of the first weekend in the NCAA tournament. He's never been to a Sweet 16. I'd say C overall, but B in those first 5 years.
I would say a C. Player development, I would give him a B. No doubt. I mean, he developed some incredible players, a few, a number. The problem there just wasn't, he never had enough depth. And then the coaching would ultimately hurt him as well. Defense. Yeah, that was something. I think I would have predicted Andrew is going to grade higher than that, but and again, a lot of this comes down to us overrating the importance of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
but sure. That's how it is.
It is how it is, and whether it's fair or not, that is how coaches and programs and players are judged. And so I guess as a fan, yeah, I'm closer to a B. If we had in between, I'd probably go a B minus. But it's because so many of these seasons were a lot of fun. It was a great brand of basketball to watch for the most part. It was frustrating when they couldn't get any stops, but they scored a lot of points. You had those great players and the Murrays and Garza and Bohannon, those great moments, and they won a Big Ten tournament. It sucks they were never able to get over the hump in the NCAA tournament, and there are reasons for that as well. But I'd say it's closer to a B minus than a C plus. But I think where the votes are right now are pretty right.
Last night was a little bit of a microcosm there, where everything in the game.
I mean, they've had some incredibly exciting wins. I mean, incredibly exciting. Oh, yeah. Just crazy comebacks, incredibly exciting. But ultimately, those wins were not where they needed to be for the most part. There were some clearly at the end of the regular season that everybody loved. You had one Big Ten tournament run, but for the most part, those wins didn't tend to come in the postseason.
AD, I could use some help with what's at stake at Nebraska against Fred Hoiberg and the Cornhuskers. I know I'm bird bath deep on what's going on in sports these past few days. So where are we with how it pertains to Iowa making the Big Ten tournament?
It's a play-in game for both teams. The winner of the game Sunday goes to the 15 seed and gets into the Big Ten tournament, and the loser is out. See, now that
favors having this setup because it makes a late season normally meaningless game between two programs not really going anywhere this season, and it does have that soccer feel to it where you're trying to avoid relegation.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, a couple weeks ago we had the quickie poll. I wish every team was going into the Big Ten tournament because that's what a conference tournament means to me. But you're right. I mean, Sunday's game means a hell of a lot more than it would have normally.
All right, we have the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament in progress right now as Andy boldly wears a blue and white Drake hat with a red St. Louis Cardinals hoodie because Drake is playing Southern Illinois in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. And
yeah, this is 53-39, the current score there. So, the Bulldogs are starting to roll here in the second half. They had a 11-point lead at halftime, and the Salukis are starting to check out.
All right, so Drake is going to advance, we think, and UNI plays Valpo tonight, correct?
Yeah, when is the start of that game?
I think it's the later game.
It is. I don't know. It's later. Let's sit here and watch me Google my phone.
It's why you're the best, Andy. It's why you're the best. Addie Brown scored 41 points in the Big 12 tournament as Iowa State beats the Arizona State Sun Devils. 41 points. That's a here I am game.
There. Yeah, that was a real eye opener yesterday. That was that got national headlines there.
I don't mean to pile on the Big 12 for this court, but the court is is atrocious.
It's terrible.
It's so dumb. It's I feel like it's low hanging fruit for everybody but Chris Williams at this point. But does anybody think this looks good?
Northern Iowa plays at 8:30 tonight. Jeez,
not only does it not look good, it's like one of those checkered shirts on TV where it screws with your eyes. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It looks like
bad
it's moving.
Which is Murph, that's the first thing you do, right? If this is a televised event.
Yes.
You look to see if it strobes. You get a new shirt that you're thinking about wearing on the news set. What's the first thing you do? If it's kind of a tight checker, you step out there in front of the camera and you say, hey, does this strobe? And if it does, you can't wear it. You got to change.
Yeah, I don't think
they're playing on a shark skin.
Yeah, I don't think this falls under all publicity is good publicity. I know this is getting a lot of attention, but look at how much better this simple previous Big 12 court is. Go back to this. Can they change this before the men start playing next week? I hope so.
Man,
I bet they can't.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. Iowa wins its 11th Big Ten women's tournament game in a row. 11 straight wins in the Big Ten tournament, beat Michigan State. Andy, your analysis.
I saw it there in the background.
All right.
I did not watch this game.
It was the Ava hiding game. That was fun. Yeah. There's something that happens to this team in the postseason. They have enough experience now that they can kind of turn it on. Lucy Olson's playing so much better. Caitlin Clark in the house at Gainbridge, so that's been cool. I'll say, like, I think every Iowa fan, as soon as that Michigan State men's run started in the second half, it was like, let's flip over the women's game.
Yeah,
watch the team that really excites us.
People were audibly doing that in the newsroom last night. Yeah, well, there is another game that we can watch.
Nicholas asks which court is worse. Back to the Big 12 court, Big 12 tournament court. The Big 12 court or TCU's court?
I feel like it's still TCU's because they've got a weird shape to it. Don't they have like a horned frog?
Yeah, and it looks like a big marshmallow, but I'm going big. Yeah. I think the Big 12's is worse because of the strobing effect.
I need to see them side by side again. TCU's is. I mean that's the first thing that I thought of when I saw that court. Is I was like, this is like the TCU.
I'm going Big 12.
The
Oregon has a really bad court. Yeah,
like the trees around the outside.
Did they keep that? Have they messed with that a little bit?
I think they moved on from it or did something else. Iowa State men's basketball team going to Kansas State Saturday. What are the stakes on this? There aren't really any, are there?
I mean,
Pride?
Aren't they? They're already locked into their seed for the Big 10 or the Big 12 tournament, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't know.
I think maybe some like
payback.
And Chris Williams was saying if they lose this and then go and lose like the first game in the Big 12 tournament, maybe they drop down to a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, something like that. But not a whole lot on the line other than maybe some momentum and pride.
Well, they had been in the top 10 longer than any team in the country, 25 straight weeks in the top 10. But even winning at Kansas State, can they stay 10 or higher? They're at 10 now. I would question it. They did lose to a good team in double overtime.
Well, nothing will get better if they lose.
Nothing gets better.
How about that?
Just true in life.
There's something to gain from this game.
Andy, Ken Pink is here, so I've watched more hockey than usual this week. So I do know that Ovechkin is closing in on Gretzky.
He is, and that's really, really big news in the world of hockey. Gretzky set those marks so high that it really, truly seemed when he retired that no one would ever break them. And the game of hockey has changed. It's more of a defensive game now in the NHL. So the style of the game seemed like it was not going to. It was going to just forbid somebody from ever getting to that level again. But Ovechkin has had an incredible career. The second half of his career is probably the most impressive. I mean, he's continued to be a consistent 40-plus goal scorer a year late in his career. Now, straight up and down, the stats look comparable, which, I mean, this is an incredible thing.
It is, but some of it's longevity. He's 57.
No, he's played 20 years, and Gretzky played 20 years. So
it seems like he's played 40 years.
Well, but there are some things that don't compare well. But straight up and down, they played the same number of years. Gretzky actually played more games than Ovechkin has played at this point. Okay. Yes. Now, Gretzky, no one who knows Wayne Gretzky would consider. This is how crazy he is. No one would consider him a goal scorer first. No one would consider Ovechkin anything but a goal scorer first. But no one would consider Gretzky to be a goal scorer first. And that's ridiculous because no one has ever scored more goals in a season, more goals in a career, more goals in a playoff series, more goals in the playoffs in general, more goals in the regular season, more goals in the postseason than Wayne Gretzky. He has all of the goal. He scored 92 goals in one season. And yet, he's not a goal scorer first, which
how great
which
he
is just yeah. So early on, he was a major goal scorer, and he had, I don't know, maybe 6-7 seasons of 60+ goals, and I think Ovechkin might have 3 total. But then at that point, Gretzky he became more of a setup guy, of a pass first guy. So, he has the goal mark. It looks like Ovechkin will pass him, but he will never get anywhere close to Wayne Gretzky in total points because Gretzky has more assists than any other player in history has total points.
That is a wild stat.
It is an incredible stat, but it is still amazing that Ovechkin, who plays a hard-nosed game, and this guy throws checks,
he's great.
He'll even drop the gloves. The fact that he has put together this incredible career in light of a changing NHL, far bigger players, goaltenders who are 6'5", 6'6" now, and can pretty much just stand there and cover almost all of the net. The fact that he's continued this pace is amazing.
All right, Andy, you got to wrap up the hockey here. I got to go soon.
Kenny Pink came all the way from the greater Ames Metro.
He did. And by the way, you can't relate to this yet because you don't have a teenage boy, but you're closing in on it. His son Wyatt was supposed to go and practice with another hockey team, only he forgot to take his hockey bag out of Ken's truck, which is parked at Keck parking at the airport. Just, typical 18-year-old. Oh my goodness. I could tell you stories.
That's your first concern, is that his being irresponsible. I'll tell you, but my first concern is as somebody that knows what a teenager's hockey bag smells like.
Oh,
Ken's car is going to be a stink bomb.
There might be a bomb squad out there right now.
I mean, and there's no way he cracked the windows. That Kenny's car is going to, he may as well just go ahead and sit inside of a sweat sock.
Stephen A. Smith signs a 5-year, $100 million deal, or what over at WHO 13 we call an Ed Wilson deal. Stephen A. Smith is ESPN's most identifiable personality. Andy, I think they must have metrics that show he's worth this. I mean, he's performative, but it must attract viewers.
I mean, I guess. I mean, a lot of us are going to shit on this, and I don't enjoy listening to Stephen A. Smith.
It's too much for me too.
Yeah, and but we are not in the times have changed, right? I mean, there's no more Olbermann and Patrick. Those days are gone. ESPN doesn't work the way, or TV stations in general just don't work the way that they used to. What Stephen A. Smith does for that network is constantly draw attention to it.
Yep.
Some of it's bad media. Attention. Yeah, but I mean, he does. He is a content generator. And that's what
so is Pat
wants.
McAfee, and they're the two biggest personalities there now.
Yeah, and that's what everybody wants right now. That's what everybody needs. I mean, otherwise, if you don't have people like that, then ESPN is in real trouble of just being lost, because you've got to you've got to be drawn to that by the blurbs, headlines, strong takes that he throws out there. And, he makes for good conversation. He's made the sports, he's elevated the format of the sports debate show. I mean, he's really done that. He's done a lot of things well, but whether
good
or not,
for him.
Yeah, right. And, but even still, I don't think this is a huge deal. Back
I would
in the
like
day,
to have it.
Well, you know what I mean? I mean, this is, look at what athletes are making right now.
My dad would have lived another 6 months if not for Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless.
Skip Bayless, I feel like I don't have anything good to say about him, but I mean, Stephen A. Smith, I'm going to listen to him. He makes me think.
Andy, I'm going to help you learn to speak Irish a week from St. Patrick's Day. So we've put this on the screen: whale, oil, beef, hooked. So Andy, say those middle four words fast out loud.
Whale oil, beef hooked. Yeah.
AD, let me hear you try it.
Whale
oil, beef hooked.
Oil, beef hooked.
Whale oil, beef hooked.
Yeah.
Whale oil, beef hooked. Yes, all right, Andy, one more time. Say it with
whale oil, beef hooked. You like my Irish accent there?
That was good.
That was good. Let's hear it one more time, Andy.
Whale oil, beef hooked.
Very good. Yeah. Grimaldi's fan photo
won't
winner.
Say it without putting extra emphasis on the H.
Whale oil, beef hooked. Yeah. Ryan Bozell, in honor of Bryce Miller. Here's Ryan Bozell's son with a huge crappie. He pulled through the ice, Andy. He's headed to Iowa State next year, and they could use some pizza. They're going to the West Des Moines location.
I love that. That is a good entry right there in honor of Bryce. Bryce is caught. He and I have caught a bunch of crappies like that together in our many fishing adventures together. Those big Iowa farm pond crappies, gotta love them.
Grimaldi's Coal Brick Oven Pizzeria on Mills Civic Parkway in West Des Moines, and the District at Prairie Trail in Ankeny. Ryan and family, enjoy your $50 gift card. And now, speaking of Bryce Miller, here he is with WHO 13's Dan Winters about 10 years ago after Bryce decided to leave the Des Moines Register.
Well, I want to thank Bryce Miller for coming in and sitting down with us after what I would imagine has been a really emotional week.
For you or for me? I can't tell. I don't know.
Well, what's been going through your mind?
Well, after 23 years in the same company and a lot of those years at the Des Moines Register, it does feel different than I thought it would be to end it. Well,
let's clarify this, because you are leaving by your own choice, but because you were asked to reapply for your own job.
Yeah, and that wasn't unique to me. The entire company, we're in Gannett, and I don't know if that word means anything to anybody, but they're the company that owns USA Today and newspapers across the country, and they're reworking newsrooms to try to position themselves a little more for the future, and part of that restructured our sports department. But to be honest, I'd thought about it for a few months before that.
I've heard that staff at the Register are referring to this as the Hunger Games. Any truth to that?
There's truth to that. I don't think at a management level they are, but it's a difficult spot for everybody. The economy hasn't just affected journalism, but that transition when there are people's lives involved, that, it's difficult, so you understand that.
What are you going to miss the most about the daily grind, cranking out those columns?
You miss the people. I've been lucky to meet some great ones. Writing about Des Moines North's basketball team, just knowing that people read it, cared about it, and reacted to it. They had $30,000 in donations in a little over a week after we wrote that story about the challenges that team went through. Getting to know so well a guy like Dan Gable, who I think is the most fascinating person I've ever met in sports. You could go on, but you just kind of have access and a doorway to people that some aren't able to, have a conversation with and get to know.
Bryce, what's the craziest story you've ever covered?
Boy, there's been so many. I know one that had the craziest result. One day I was in my office and the phone rang, cold call, and it was John Grisham, the author. And he was researching a book he was writing. The fictional character was going to be from the University of Iowa and an Iowa high school. And the book was called Playing for Pizza.
I've read it.
And he finished it. He completed it. I'm credited in the back of that book. I'm credited in the back of a Grisham book. That didn't pay anything either.
He owes you big time. That was a good book.
He doesn't know who I am.
Craziest thing that ever happened to you while covering a story?
One day we were in Torino, Italy at the Winter Olympics, and somebody had left a car running out on the street, and in post 9/11 with all the security concerns, one of the Italian, security force options related to that car is they intentionally blew it up. we were just a couple of walls away. So hearing a car blow up when you're at an Olympics, that probably ranks pretty high on the list.
Wow. So what's next?
I'll need some help getting out of this chair. The arthritis is setting in.
Oh, come on.
These chairs are a little shaky. Are we in danger?
You came in here to badmouth the chairs.
You got them from IKEA? Where'd you get these? No, it's, I'm looking forward to whatever's next. I'm applying for a journalism fellowship at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. It's no guarantee I'd get it, but at 46 years old, there's a chance to do something a little bit different. And so in that way, I'm looking forward to it. Do I wish the industry was different? I'd love to turn back that clock, but none of us are going to do it. So you just wish everyone the best, and that's what I wish for the Register.
Bryce Miller, thank you for 23 years worth of stories and 3 minutes in the chair.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that, and thank you to news director WHO 13 Rod Peterson for sending that over, because I think it shows a lot of Bryce there. You hear the humor, you hear the intelligence, the storytelling, the passion for journalism. It's a really nice 3 minutes there with Dan Winters.
Yeah, I know. I can just look at Bryce's face and start laughing because I know he's probably thinking he's probably not saying exactly what he wants to say there, but he always has grace with his mouth. Usually,
for
most of the time. Then the door closes and you know what he really thinks. But I remember when that happened, and I guess first of all, I remember Bryce's job search was so Bryce. Because first of all, he lost his job, and many of us would panic and start, clipping coupons and, staying in and not doing it. He didn't change anything about his life. And as a matter of fact, I don't want to spend all my good Bryce stories because I some of them are just great. This is absolutely one of my favorite things. So he didn't have a job. Of course, he still went to Canada fishing with me and Kenny Pink. He was fine. We're sitting out in the boat. This is in Canada. This is in Loch Sewell. This is the middle of nowhere. There are bears walking on the shore. This is the middle of nowhere. So he uses a satellite connection on his phone. This phone call was probably $9. He called Iowa Workforce Development from fishing in Canada to file for unemployment. While we're sitting in the boat.
That's great.
He's holding his fishing rod with one hand and his phone to the other. Yeah, no, I don't have a job. Yeah, no, I'm destitute right now. It's terrible. He files for unemployment while he's sitting in a boat in Canada. And then where we're just some of us are getting to the point where Hey, Bryce, how's that job search coming, man? Aren't you getting a little worried about this? And because the rest of us were like worried, right? I mean, we're like, dude, you need a job. And he's like, I got a couple of leads here and there. And we're just like, man, I think maybe you should be a little bit more stressed about this, right? Something will happen. And what happens? Lands a job in San Diego at the Union Tribune, which is not only in San Diego, but is also like locally owned or has a really good owner or whatever. It's a really great paper. It's a better job, way better job than the one he lost. He gets to travel all over the place. He's rubbing elbows with Bill Walton and Dick Enberg immediately, covering the Padres. I mean, what is the shit that he covered there? I mean, he could find a reason. He'd be like, yeah, I think I need to go trout fishing in the Himalayas. And then his editor would be like, why? And he'd be like, well, one of the guys that's going has a sister from San Diego.
Oh,
okay. Well, I was thinking I could do a real San Diego spin on this. And the guy'd be like, oh, okay. And of course he would write a great column about it, but completely. I mean, he's in the air flying. The plane loses all of its engines. He just kind of keeps coasting on the thing until it's completely going to hit a mountain. And then he just grabs this San Diego parachute and, lazily jumps out of the plane, lands on his feet. Yeah. Just amazing. But yeah, filed for unemployment from a boat.
That's so Bryce. Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy. Also, my T-shirt of the day is from Confluence. Confluence, where good things come together. And it is time for a speed round of throwdowns. I need to go, so we're gonna have to give quick answers.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
Heartland Tire and Auto, an authorized dealer of Bridgestone and Firestone tires. Andy, we talked about it already. There's a lot of speculation about Fran McCaffrey's future at Iowa. We haven't seen Beth Getz handle a situation like this. When we start our show at 1 o'clock on Monday, is Fran McCaffrey still the head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes?
I don't think so. I will say no. I think you need to, it's clear what this decision needs to be. You want to be out there looking as soon as possible. The good coaches are probably still going to be engaged with their teams and playing in the NCAA tournament, but you want to be in the situation where you're getting buyouts all lined up, where you're getting your pitch all set, and it benefits you to get to that lane early.
I think he still will be, because I think there's going to be some negotiations that go back and forth. He's not going to willingly give up any of the money owed him, so I think that part of it will drag out enough where we will not have a definitive answer by the time we start our show Monday.
Murph, spring training is underway. We're just a few weeks away from opening day. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much attention is baseball getting from you?
About a 1 right now. I'm sure it will go up some, but spring training just doesn't register with me the way it used to.
Yeah, if it weren't for Alexa binging me every time that the Cardinals start or score a run or finish a game, I probably wouldn't even be aware right now.
Yeah, I get my little notification with the Giants. Andy, we've been doing this podcast about 6 months, but we had a radio show for 15 years. How often do you refer to this podcast as a radio show?
Well, it's still going. I still say radio show. I just do. Maybe I don't need to worry about changing, but yeah, I'm still doing it.
I'm still doing it occasionally, but I am trying to move into the space of just calling it the show.
Yes, I like that. All right, that's throwdowns.
All right. I have to go. Thank you guys for your help, your understanding. Thank you to everybody out there who has just been so gracious and kind. I appreciate it very much. I leave you in good hands with Andy and AD, and also Scott will be here. So ready or not, Scott School.
Scott School, Scott School, Scott School is cool. Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, it's our friend Scott Sipker.
I had to go to Scott School this week. Got into an argument with Rachel. I noticed up in the corner of the walls there was a bunch of spider webs up there, and she said, "Those aren't spider webs." I said, "What?" She goes, "Those are cobwebs." I go, as
Not the same thing.
condescending as I can.
What?
Those are the same things. And she said, no, you're wrong. And we looked it up. A spider web is an active spider web. The spider lives there. The cobweb is an abandoned spider web. And that's Scott School.
Scott School is cool. Yeah.
I lost that one.
Okay,
I had to
wait.
go to Scott School myself.
But I don't know that that's true.
Well, like most Scott schools.
But honestly, I think cobwebs. I think that's just dust, right? Lint and stuff flying around that's caught on a little is caught on the ceiling, and then more catches on it.
No,
I mean I don't know what the definition is, but I mean there are.
I just told you the definition.
What I would call, well, I don't know. Look it up in the dictionary real fast. But like in the corner of a room right now, I think there are probably some cobwebs at my house that I don't know had anything to do with a spider. I don't know.
Then they're not cobwebs.
I think maybe those can happen
just
without a spider.
dust bunnies?
No, those are on the floor.
I mean, dust bunnies can get whooped up into a cobweb, and
So
then
are
can dangle up there.
you implying that a dust bunny actually did have a bunny come by at some point and get it started?
That would be pretty cool. That's very cute, isn't it? I was actually at a friend's house of mine one time, and they didn't tell me that they had rabbits in the house. And I walked into the bathroom at one point, and I just saw what I thought was a gopher scurrying under the vanity, and I was terrified. Turns out, just a rabbit.
Yeah, we had a rabbit one time. They don't make the best pets in the world.
Do you just let it go around? I always thought the rabbits had to be kept in a cage.
No, they can use a litter box and stuff, and their shit is really easy to pick up. It's just the little dry pellets and stuff. But
Have you eaten a rabbit?
They just don't really like to hang out with.
Also,
people
don't get two, because then you'll have like 15.
Oh yeah. Make sure they're the same sex at least. The Drake Bulldogs have closed out the Southern Illinois Saluki 70-53. Our friend Joey the Worm was watching the game for me and paying close attention. He said this stat: 5 steals in the first half for Isaiah Howard is the most steals in 20 minutes by a Bulldog since Revante Rice went on a spree at Jordan Creek Mall in 2013.
Line of the day.
Oh, that's really, really funny. Okay, let's get some more, boys. Let's do that. It's a Friday.
But wait, there's more from Either Or Eatery and Patio.
More is brought to you by Either Or Eatery and Patio, home of the world's greatest fried bologna sandwich, and also caviar.
Ooh.
Same restaurant. And also beers by Lua Brewing Company. And by the way, congrats to Lua Brewing Company.
Yeah.
USA Today's best brew pub in America. So I saw that and I was like, in all of America, it's number one. And Lua just opened in November of 2019, so it's not even all that old. So here's how it went. So USA Today asked for nominees for best brew pub, asked their travel writers and food critics associated with USA Today. I would assume Susan Stapleton of the Des Moines Register is one of them. Because they're owned by the same company that owns USA Today. And Susan does all the food writing here in Des Moines, does a really nice job. I like her stuff. So I would assume that she was one of the ones who suggested Lua Brewing Company, and others did as well. And then they invited their readers to write in. And as we know, Iowans are good at online polls. We can support other Iowans in online polls like it's nobody's business. So they ended up winning the whole thing. That's great. Great for Lua. Good for them.
Congratulations. I never know how to quite feel about these sort of things because, I don't know, you get like the city views where it's pay to play. Doesn't seem like what this is.
Those ballots are totally stuffed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I loved it whenever you would win, the Murph and Andy show would win, and you guys didn't try at all. And you just know how many people are out there just stuffing the ballots, emailing, texting all their friends, family, and mothers to vote for them. And then Murph and Andy still beat them without you even asking for pity.
Yeah, you would see somebody win like best skincare salon in the east part of the metro. You'd be like, I don't even know any of those. Yeah.
Or best reporter, and it came from Channel 5, and you're like, nobody watches that.
You don't
station.
even know who that is. Yeah,
No.
right. Yeah, so you know somebody stuffed the belt. But these on USA Today, everybody could only vote once per day per category. So they flat out said, hey, we told our employees to go ahead and vote. But the other winners on the other top 10 finishers on that list were from Chicago and Minneapolis, or Chicago and Milwaukee, Baltimore, Sacramento, way bigger cities.
Well, Lua does really good, like, straightforward beer. They also have those, like, those fruity beers, which are, like, dangerously good. You can get the climbing kites while you're sitting there, and then the food is great. Plus that patio on a nice day, they open those doors. That place is awesome.
Yeah,
It
is
really nice place. Yeah. They're on Sherman Hill, so congrats to Lua Brewing Company. Tom Yamas will succeed Lester Holt as anchor and managing editor of the nightly news on NBC. Tom Yamas gets that job. That's a tough job. I don't think I would want it.
It doesn't seem like a cool job anymore. I don't know.
No.
Like, are people really watching this anymore? Other than to make you
NBC
have...
Nightly News it has a huge audience. It's not, of course, what it used to be, but it's still a huge audience. It's an enormous amount of pressure, and all that's asked of that lead anchor there. I mean, they're well compensated.
It seems like a thankless job to me.
It's
you could
tough
do
one.
perfectly, and most people are going to hate you.
All right, coming up here on Who's the Asshole in just a second. But from the files of Some Headlines Don't Need Stories, we bring you this. Woman strips naked and walks screaming down the aisle on Southwest flight to Phoenix.
Oh.
We got a little...
Okay, she's
that's
not
right there.
She's
That
a
is
thinner
she.
lady.
She's flipping double birds there, too.
Is that?
Yeah.
Or she's dancing. Okay, can we get a turnaround now? Let's turn around.
I think they're going to pick
She's
something.
coming back this way. Let's see what we got, what we're working with here.
I think she stays at the front of the plane.
Oh,
yeah, she does, yeah. Is that there's good naked and bad naked. Is that a bad naked situation? I think it might
I think so. I don't think there's any way you could be turned on by this
Puts
situation.
her hands up on the little storage units there on the overhead bins, so you really get a full view of the
What
full
drugs do you think this woman is on?
She was removed from the flight and transported to a psychiatric center. So that's never good. I think the moral of the story here is that you just really never know what you're going to get on the plane, right?
Yeah, could be
I've seen
snakes.
there's some random stuff. Could be snakes, random stuff that you see when you combine kind of all walks of society together.
I didn't know that those aisles were so wide that you could fit two abreast.
It's a bad joke. We need to get to the Who's the Asshole quickly here. Meanwhile, Andrew, last Sunday at church.
Feel it. Jesus, help me.
Jesus stepped outside for a second on that one. Where were you,
It is
man?
funny. I always enjoy that Christian music is the one type of music that has no soul.
It's pretty. This stuff is just so bad.
It's the worst of the worst music.
Bad mega church music is really bad music. All right, Andrew, let's just jump right to Who's the Asshole here, huh? Let's do that on a Friday here. This Who's the Asshole is courtesy of our friend Blake Hornstein over at WHBF. Blake is a good dude. He came to the Iowa Everywhere party a couple of weeks ago. Got to see him there. Really good guy, really helpful guy.
Helps us out a lot. A lot of our like Hawkeye video and stuff is from him. He lets us use it. So yeah, huge shout out to Blake.
Sends us a lot of video over at WHO 13 over there from the eastern part of the state. He's a really helpful guy and a fun guy to hang out with too. So when we travel to cover our various teams, we inevitably we'll see Blake. But he listens to the podcast and said he had one for us. Ooh. Got a good Who's the Asshole for you guys. So we're going to take him up on the offer here. So here goes Blake. Ready? I cover the Iowa Hawkeyes and followed Caitlin Clark's every step her final year at Iowa, which included the Big Ten tournament in Minneapolis. For those who don't know, the early middle rounds of the Big Ten tournament have multiple games on the same day happening in succession, meaning each game has a separate seating chart on press row. On this particular day, I was covering the semifinal round of the tournament, and the Hawkeyes were playing in the second game of the day. 30 minutes before Iowa tipped things off against Michigan, I noticed there was a gentleman in my seat. I politely approached him and let him know that while I didn't need to sit there this second, that was my assigned seat. There were a few empty seats around us at the time, and this media member looked around and rhetorically asked me, "Look at all these open seats. You can't find somewhere else to sit?" I think he's just straightforward asking him that. Here's the problem, sir. Caitlin Clark is playing basketball. There will be no empty seats when the game starts. I responded and said, "I know, but they will all be filled shortly. I don't need it this second, but in about 20 minutes, I would like to sit. I would like this seat." The now grumpier man replied, "I'm not moving."
Ooh.
Okay. The man sitting in this seat, you have this picture. The man sitting in this seat is Larry Fitzgerald Sr. This is the Larry Fitzgerald's dad, who is a sports writer in Minneapolis, or he was. He's pretty well known up there. I don't know exactly what station he works for, but he's kind of an elder statesman, as we can see. And I don't know his local reputation. I don't know what kind of guy he is or anything like that, but he's been around for a while. This is in Minneapolis. He's kind of it's kind of his place, I guess.
He's got status there.
He's got status there. Yes. Back to Blake's story. Now I'm getting a little irritated. This stubborn old man from the TPT Almanac, I guess that's a website, was being a pain in the ass. So I decided to go if you're not going to move, I'm going to grab security route, to which he flailed his arms at me and said, "Get the F away from me." Long story short, I get security. They have to contact the media people in charge of the seating chart. Keep in mind, this person did not have a seat on press row for this game. He did the previous game, but not this one. After a long, dramatic standoff, this person moves one seat to his left.
Oh.
Which was the seat assigned to David Eicholt. No, David also. David heard about the debacle, wanted no part of dealing with it, so he took his chances on a different seat, which luckily for him remained open. I get mine, and I have to sit right next to Larry Fitzgerald Sr. for the whole game. Somebody walks by as they're going to the media room and asks him if he'd like a drink. He goes, "I'll take water and poison for this one," pointing at me. I decide to take a peek at his media credential, which reads, "Larry Fitzgerald. I'm crossing my fingers we don't have an encore in Indianapolis. Am I the a-hole for going full Karen mode, or is Larry Fitzgerald's biological father the real asshole? Who's the asshole? Blake or Larry Fitzgerald Sr.?
I'm stretching to try and figure out how Blake is the asshole here.
Well,
but
you could just try to find another seat and see if it becomes a problem, then you ask. But at that point, security comes in, they're going to side with you. Maybe Larry Fitzgerald Sr. doesn't get a seat there either, so maybe he's just he's actually acting on his best interests by asking early. I don't think Larry Fitzgerald Sr. is being an asshole here. I mean, that's not his seat. He certainly, if he belongs up there, then he understands the crush to see Caitlin Clark. I mean,
that's why he's doing it. He doesn't have a credential for that
No,
game,
he doesn't
but
care.
he can stick around and watch Caitlin Clark play.
Anybody?
This is so clear to me that Larry Fitzgerald Sr.
I've got a small wrinkle because I hate. Not only is Larry Fitzgerald the asshole for doing this to Blake, but like to make him take it to that level. It's always such an
moving
awkward thing.
one seat.
When somebody's sitting in your seat at an event, it's always so awkward to have to go up.
Or a plane or anywhere.
He knows that he's in somebody's seat.
But we have so much shame that we think, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to just double check.
Absolutely, exactly. And so he's an asshole just for making Blake feel like that. I like David Eichholt a lot. Is he a little bit of an asshole here for not following in Blake's footsteps and continue? I mean, because now it does.
I mean, come on, David. Yeah,
David, what are you doing?
You're right.
Get your boys back.
It does make Blake look a little Karen-y that there was an open seat there, and he got security to move this guy one seat. And it's like Larry Fitzgerald's like, man, you could have sat here. I didn't have to move. You made this whole to-do. You got security on me, and there was clearly open seats. If Eichholt follows through and says, no, you're in my seat now, and it continues, then I think Blake's like fully in the clear. So again, I love you, David, but I feel like there's a little asshole rubbing off on
Yeah,
on
you don't have your boys back here. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Yeah, I don't get it. He could have helped. This is a very old sports guy thing to do to the young sports guys, to just disregard the rules and make the world adjust to you rather than you adjust to the world or the rules. But you've been there. I mean, at some point you were in this type of situation. You were a younger guy. You were playing by the rules, and somebody else came by and bigfooted you, and you hated it. You got to remember that lesson. You got to remember what it felt like to be in that situation and not do it to somebody else. Come on, man. Seriously. He's the asshole.
I'm just trying to think of how I would have handled this, and I think I would have wilted. There's no way I would have called security on Larry Fitzgerald Sr. I would have eaten it. I would have been, oh, yeah, you know what? It's fine. You just stay right there. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I had to look this up. I had no idea that Larry Fitzgerald even had a dad with the same name, much less a dad in Minneapolis sports media. I didn't know that. It shouldn't matter what his name is. Doesn't matter. This guy needs to understand the situation. And then it'll be a dick on top of that, call for poison in his water, all that.
That was
Blake. Yeah.
I hope he did that a little tongue in cheek and they had a laugh. That's that's a setting for a play, is having to sit next to somebody for the next couple hours who you got off to about as bad of a start as you possibly can, and how much you try to ignore each other, but your arms are brushing up against it. Larry Fitzgerald Sr., I'm sure, judging from the size of his son, is not a small man.
Yeah,
so they're touching.
It's a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Well, yeah,
yes.
He is not quite as fit as his son, or like at all. Peter Venkman asks, so did the older guy just get a free seat to an expensive game? I don't know how the media credentials work. Well, I mean, in essence, yeah. I mean, he's not supposed to be at that game, and he got a free seat to it. He was there covering previous games and stuck around, which people do. And if there's extra room, that's no big deal. You can do that. But we heard so many stories about, and if Murph was here, you'd be talking about Marty Terrell taking somebody's seat on press row.
I bet he still does it. Somehow he gets access to these games.
He doesn't want to work in the sports media, does not deserve to have any kind of press credential.
He gets better seats than Keith does.
Yeah, and some of these people, bring their girlfriends or whatever, and they let them sit there when people are trying to do real work, and it just makes everybody look bad, and it's a really bad situation.
And especially with Caitlin Clark, and especially those last couple of seasons where, I mean, she was the biggest draw. I remember hearing that, like people would bring their daughters and get their daughters, national people would like get their daughters a credential so that they could sit and see Caitlin Clark. And like, you understand that on a human level, but you're taking a seat from somebody who's trying to work.
Blake has applied for this credential 2 months in advance, or a month in advance, and he's there. His company is paying him to be there. He's by himself. He's got to be able to watch the whole game. He's got to be able to do that, or he's just screwed. He can't do his job. He literally can't do his job unless he has that seat. So it's just totally wrong for Larry Fitzgerald Sr. to do that.
What an asshole.
Come on, what an asshole, seriously. That's
I
more,
Colt,
everybody.
you're the asshole.
Yeah, I Colt, though. We want to hear from you on this. Yeah.
Defend yourself.
Yeah, seriously. All right, it is a Friday here on the Murph and Andy Show, and so it's time for Andrew Downs to take over with the 80 Squared.
Yeah, it's powered by Game Day Men's Health. Hey, it's almost bikini season, right? You want to get yourself in shape. One of the best things about getting the testosterone replacement therapy for me is I have more energy to work out. Like I like to work out in the evenings, but after a full day of work, after putting the kids to bed and doing all that kind of stuff, it's hard to have that motivation. I've found that with the testosterone replacement therapy, and you can too. Ankeny, West Des Moines, North Liberty, if you're on the eastern side of the state. It is Friday, so some parental advisory is necessary. None of these bleeps are necessary. It's all innocent conversation, but I place bleeps to make you hear things that aren't actually being said. What you hear is on you, not us. It's This Week in Iowa Unnecessary Censorship.
What a shrewd promotion this is, Andy. Tickets are $40 to $60. These guys and again, you're making what?
$0. I did have some friends of mine ask if these people were in school when I was. Yeah, no, I the woman on the left there for a short time. Didn't work out.
I think they might have to think about how to get that out of there before the men's tournament.
I don't hate it.
Shut the up! What are you talking about? Look at this thing. Are you watching this?
On the way out, the lady with Maya kind of randomly grabbed Bryce's, which was kind of odd.
An Australian man is dead. His name is James Harrison, affectionately known as the man with the golden.
Williams, you want to go get up in Clinton?
Yes, I would like that. Cammie would like.
Let's go get up.
As a owner of Hoodoo, I cannot say that, but I would say
That's
that
a new slogan. Our will satisfy you.
Doers, our doers will satisfy you, which is not a official term we use at Hoodoo, just for the record.
I listed my first project on Hoodoo yesterday.
Oh, nice.
I've gotten a whole bunch of bids, and they're all for the exact same price.
Okay.
No one is going lower than $500.
Just wait a little bit, and and then you want to go with the guy or the gal who's the best rated and has the best completion percentage. And
how long do you wait for that?
Well, you can wait up to 21 days is the default listing. So whenever you're ready, Andy, whenever you feel like you got the price, we're actually going through this right now at the Flip House. We have a budget for our
I saw a bunch of those
plumbing
projects listed, yeah.
Right, and some of them we just haven't quite got to the price that we want to have for our budget, and so we're just waiting a little bit longer, and we're in, you can communicate back and forth with your doers. So, hopefully you find the price that you want. And the great thing is, Andy, if you don't find the price that you want, you don't have to actually accept any of them. No obligation.
No, I know. I know. That's kind of why I wanted to do it. I'm just surprised that
good
everybody's
research. Got
the exact same bid. We got a little bit more time here on a Friday. We've got a couple of other who's the asshole type stories thrown up here. So let's just bat these around for a second. You guys okay with that, Andrew? You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Lucas says, I have a similar story from the middle school wrestling tournament last year. Where we were saving
those are people you don't want to mess with. Middle school wrestling parents.
Just wrestling period. You get seated next to Spencer
Lee.
Spencer Lee's mom.
Watch out for those glasses. She might grab
tear
yours.
up those glasses and tear you a new ass. We were saving a seat for my son who was down on the mat warming up. Apparently, there was no saving seats in general admission. Yeah, so the saving seat thing. Where does the asshole line get drawn? I mean, how many seats can you save?
And how long can you? Does the person have to be in the building?
This is one of the worst things to ever put me in. It's in my top 10 of hells. Is having to save seats at a busy place.
Some of the most clueless people in the world are the ones who just like, hey, save me a couple of seats.
No,
make them good seats, and they're all the pressure goes on you. They don't care. Just save me a couple of seats there, and then you're there, and you're the one that has to keep telling everybody, no, that these seats are saved, and then you look like the asshole for saving all these seats. And, they don't know that the other person put this on you. They don't even think about this. They're just looking at you trying to save a bunch of seats in a crowd. Hate doing that.
I'm kind of a just anti-seat saving in general. Like, this is one of those things in society that just feels like if we could all accept that it's not allowed, there would be less conflict in the
then
world.
again, I mean, you don't want to sit next to just anybody. You want to sit next to this person too, so it behooves you to save the seat. But I mean, I think you can save 2 seats.
I don't love that it's harder now to like walk up to a movie theater and just buy tickets to a show that's coming up in 20 minutes. But I do love the assigned seat movement we've had in movie theaters where it's like, okay, I know my seat is there. I'm going to sit. I have enough seats to sit with all the people that I'm going with. Because that was always weird. You go into especially like a crowded movie, a popular movie, and it'd be like, well, okay, there's 2 seats over there. And you might be like way over on the side, like next to the wall, way back.
For the Kinnick, the documentary, I made AD sit in the very front row.
Yes.
And it just made him sick the whole time. It was so big.
My neck still hurts.
All gas, no breakfast says 1 seat saved per person. 1-to-1 saving ratio. That's what she should go with. Jesse chimes in. You just got to say, yeah, I'll try and save a seat, and then make 0 effort and say you tried.
Yep, that's the way to go. That's the Midwestern way right there.
I tried. But see, again, you want to sit next to this person, right? I mean, right? I mean, you're saving a seat for your friend or your family member, right? You don't have some random asshole just ask you to save a seat. You want them to have that seat, but you don't want to try that hard to save it for them.
Yeah, just like
all right, guys.
You got to show up together. That's the answer.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you. This has been a fun Friday. All of our best hopes and wishes go out to our close friend Bryce Miller in San Diego.
Yeah.
His friends and family that are there with him. Thank you to the listening and viewing audience for all that you have contributed to the talk about Bryce and the well wishes for him. We truly appreciate them. He does too. His family does too. We feel like we are one big family, and we got somebody that just needs a little more right now, and we're happy to give it. But thank you for all your participation this week. It's been a good one. Enjoy your basketball this weekend, and Murph and Andy will see you again on Monday.